I was 18 years old when my father opened the front door, threw my suitcase onto the porch, and said 6 words that changed my life forever. If you leave, don't ever come back. So I left. I had $37 in my pocket. No car. No family. And nowhere to sleep. 12 years later, they stood on my front porch, holding 2 suitcases, asking if they could move into the house. I built without them. I was 18 years old when my father opened the front door, threw my suitcase onto the porch, and said 6 words that changed my life forever. If you leave, don't ever come back. So I left. I had $37 in my pocket. No car. No family. And nowhere to sleep. 12 years later, they stood on my front porch, holding 2 suitcases, asking if they could move into the house. I built without them. Olivia Parker had always believed that home was supposed to be the safest place in the world. But by the time she turned 16, she had learned that 4 walls didn't automatically make a family. Growing up, Olivia was the child who was expected to understand. Her older brother, Jason, could do no wrong. If he failed a class, her parents blamed the teachers. If he wrecked the family car, they called it a mistake. If he borrowed money and never paid it back, they smiled and said, "He's still finding himself." Olivia didn't have that luxury. She worked after school at a small grocery store to pay for her own clothes. She bought her own school supplies. She even paid for her senior prom dress because, according to her parents, "We already spent too much helping your brother." She never argued. She simply worked harder. Every report card was filled with A's. She graduated near the top of her class. Her guidance counselor helped her earn a partial college scholarship, something she had dreamed about for years. The acceptance letter arrived on a bright Saturday morning. Olivia ran into the kitchen with tears of excitement. "Mom, Dad, I got in." She held out the letter with shaking hands. Her mother barely looked at it. "That's nice, sweetheart." Then she turned back to Jason. "Did you fill out those job applications?" Jason shrugged. "Not yet." Her father laughed. "Don't worry, son. You'll figure it out." Olivia slowly lowered the letter. No congratulations. No hug. No celebration. That evening, she sat alone on the back porch reading the acceptance letter again and again. Not because she doubted it, but because she wanted to feel, even for a moment, that someone was proud of her. Weeks later, another argument exploded inside the house. Jason had borrowed thousands of dollars from his parents to start a business. The business failed within months. Every dollar was gone. That night, Olivia quietly asked, "Does this mean there won't be any money to help with my college housing?" Her father slammed his hand against the table. "Your brother needed that money." Olivia swallowed hard. "I just thought." "Stop thinking about yourself for once," her mother snapped. The room fell silent. Olivia looked from one parent to the other. For the first time, she realized something that hurt more than anything they had ever said. She wasn't treated differently because she had done something wrong. She was treated differently because, in their eyes, she simply mattered less. She folded her acceptance letter, placed it back inside the envelope, and quietly walked upstairs. That night, lying awake in bed, she made a promise to herself if no one was coming to build her future, she would build it alone. She had no idea that promise would be tested far sooner than she ever imagined. Olivia turned 18 exactly 3 weeks after graduating from high school. Most teenagers celebrated becoming adults. Olivia spent her birthday working an 8-hour shift at the grocery store before coming home to another argument. Jason had returned. His business had failed. Again. This time, he owed thousands of dollars to several people. Instead of holding him responsible, their parents immediately began looking for someone else to blame. When Olivia walked through the front door, she instantly felt the tension. Her father sat at the dining table with unpaid bills spread across it. Her mother paced back and forth across the kitchen. Jason leaned against the counter, avoiding everyone's eyes. Her father looked up. "There you are." Olivia set her backpack down. "What's going on?" "We're in serious financial trouble." She nodded slowly. "I'm sorry." Her mother crossed her arms. "If your brother hadn't tried to build something for this family, we wouldn't be in this mess." Olivia looked at Jason. He didn't say a single word. Then her father asked a question that stunned her. "How much money have you saved?" Olivia hesitated. "I've been saving for college." "How much?" She quietly answered. "Almost $12,000. The room became silent. Her mother's eyes lit up. "Perfect." Olivia frowned. "Perfect, for what?" Her father spoke as though the decision had already been made. "You're going to give it to Jason." Olivia stared at him. "My college savings?" "He'll pay you back." Jason immediately looked away. Olivia knew exactly what that meant. He wouldn't. She took a deep breath. "I'm sorry, but I can't." Her father's expression hardened. "What did you say?" "I worked for 4 years to save that money. I need it for school." Her mother slammed her hand on the kitchen counter. "Your brother needs it more." Tears filled Olivia's eyes. "He always needs more. No matter how hard I work. It's never enough." Jason finally spoke. "It's just money." Olivia looked directly at him. "No. It's my future." Her father's face turned red with anger. "So you're choosing money over your own family?" Olivia shook her head. "I'm choosing the only future I have." The silence that followed felt endless. Then her father stood up. He pointed toward the front door. "If you're going to be this selfish, you don't belong in this house." Olivia thought he was speaking out of anger. Until he walked upstairs, returned carrying her suitcase, and threw it onto the front porch. He looked straight into her eyes and said 6 words she would never forget. "If you leave, don't ever come back." Her mother didn't stop him. Jason didn't defend her. Not one person asked her to stay. Olivia slowly picked up her suitcase. She looked back one final time, hoping someone would call her name. No one did. She stepped off the porch with $37 in her wallet, one suitcase in her hand, and nowhere in the world to call home. Olivia spent her first night sleeping in the back seat of her old sedan. The car was nearly 15 years old. The air conditioner barely worked. The driver's seat wouldn't fully recline. But that tiny car became the closest thing she had to a home. She cried until there were no tears left. Not because she had lost a house, but because she had lost the people she believed would always love her. The next morning, she parked outside a 24-hour gym. She washed her face in the restroom, changed into her grocery store uniform, and went straight to work. No one there knew she had become homeless. She smiled at customers, stocked shelves, carried heavy boxes, and pretended everything was normal. For the next several weeks, that became her routine. She worked during the day, attended community college classes in the evening, and slept in her car at night. Every dollar she earned went into a savings account. Not because she wanted a better life. Because she refused to let the people who abandoned her decide how her story would end. One afternoon, her manager, Mrs. Reynolds, noticed the dark circles under Olivia's eyes. "You've been here early every morning and leaving late every night." Olivia forced a smile. "I'm just trying to save money." Mrs. Reynolds studied her for a moment. "Where are you living?" Olivia hesitated. The truth caught in her throat. Finally, she whispered, "My car." Mrs. Reynolds' face immediately changed. "Your car?" Olivia nodded. "I'll be okay." Mrs. Reynolds reached across the desk and gently took her hand. "No. You don't have to do this alone." That same evening, Mrs. Reynolds introduced Olivia to an elderly widow named Martha Collins. Martha had recently lost her husband and rented out the small guest room behind her house. The room was tiny. A single bed. A wooden desk. A small window overlooking the backyard. To Olivia, it felt like a palace. As Martha handed her the key, she smiled warmly. Everyone deserves a place where they feel safe. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. No one had spoken to her with that kind of kindness in years. For the first time since being thrown out. She slept in a real bed. Over the next few years, Olivia worked harder than she ever imagined possible. She earned scholarships, graduated with honors, accepted an entry-level position at a financial consulting firm. While many of her coworkers spent their first paychecks on vacations or expensive clothes, Olivia saved almost every dollar. She never forgot what it felt like to have nowhere to go. 5 years later, she received another promotion. Then another. At 28 years old, she stood outside a beautiful newly built home, holding the keys in her trembling hands. It wasn't the biggest house on the street. It wasn't luxurious. But every brick, every window, every wall, had been built with the determination of an 18-year-old girl who once slept in her car because the people she loved told her she didn't belong. As she unlocked the front door for the very first time, her phone suddenly rang. The caller ID made her heart stop. "Dad," Olivia stared at the screen for several seconds. She hadn't seen her father's name appear on her phone in almost 10 years. Not after the day he threw her suitcase onto the front porch. Not after the words that had haunted her ever since. "If you leave, don't ever come back." She almost let the call go to voicemail. Almost. Instead, she answered. "Hello?" Silence. Then she heard a voice she barely recognized. It was weak. Tired. Almost frightened. Olivia. Her father had always sounded confident. Certain. Like nothing in the world could ever shake him. Today, he sounded like a man carrying the weight of a lifetime of regret. She waited. He took a slow breath. "I know I don't deserve this call." Olivia looked around the empty living room of her new house. Fresh paint. Brand new hardwood floors. Boxes waiting to be unpacked. Everything she had built. Without him. "What do you need?" she asked calmly. Another long silence. Then he whispered, "We lost the house." Olivia frowned. "What happened?" "It started after Jason." Her father explained that Jason had spent years borrowing money from banks, friends, and relatives. Every time he failed, their parents rescued him. They refinanced the house, used their retirement savings, sold investments. They believed each bailout would be the last. It never was. Until one day, there was nothing left to sell. The bank foreclosed. Olivia closed her eyes. The same father who once believed Jason could do no wrong had lost everything trying to protect him. Her father continued, "We're staying at a motel. Your mother cries every night. I've been looking for work. But no one wants to hire a 65-year-old man." His voice broke. "I finally understand what I did to you." Olivia didn't respond. Because deep inside, she wasn't sure if she wanted to hear an apology, or if she wanted him to feel exactly what she had felt all those years ago. Then he quietly said, "I heard. You bought a house." She looked around the room again. Yes. I'm proud of you. Those 4 words should have made her happy. Instead, they made her cry. Because they had arrived 10 years too late. Her father took another shaky breath. I never imagined I'd have to ask this. Olivia already knew what was coming. But hearing it still hurt. Would. He stopped for a moment. Then forced the words out. Would you let your mother and me stay with you, just until we get back on our feet? The room became completely silent. 10 years earlier, she had stood on their porch with one suitcase, begging for a place to stay. Now, the roles had completely reversed. Olivia looked at the front door of the beautiful home she had built from nothing. Then she remembered the cold night she had slept in her car, the empty parking lots. The hunger. The loneliness. She slowly closed her eyes. Because the answer she gave next would define the rest of her life. Olivia stood in the middle of her empty living room, her father's words echoing through the silence. Would you let your mother and me stay with you? She looked around the house she had spent 10 years building. Every wall carried a memory. Every room represented another sacrifice. No one had given her a second chance. She had created one for herself. After nearly a minute, she finally spoke. I'll think about it. Her father didn't argue. He simply whispered, "Thank you." Before hanging up, he quietly added, "I'm sorry, Olivia. I know those words don't change anything. But I needed you to hear them." The call ended. Olivia slowly sat on the floor, surrounded by unopened moving boxes. For years, she had imagined this exact moment. She thought she would enjoy watching karma come full circle. Instead, she only felt exhausted. The next morning, she drove to the motel where her parents were staying. The building was old. The parking lot was half empty. The faded sign flickered above the entrance. She knocked gently on room 214. Her mother opened the door. For a second, neither of them moved. Then her mother's eyes filled with tears. She looked thinner, older. The confident woman who had once watched Olivia leave without saying goodbye was gone. In her place stood someone carrying more regret than pride. Olivia. Her voice cracked. You came. Olivia stepped inside. The tiny room contained 2 suitcases, a small table, and a single bed. Everything her parents still owned fit into one cramped space. Her father stood up slowly. He looked embarrassed. Ashamed. I wish you never had to see us like this. Olivia looked around the room. 10 years earlier, she had slept inside an old car with even less. Neither parent could meet her eyes. Finally, her father reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small envelope. I've been carrying this for years. He handed it to her. Inside was her original college acceptance letter. The same letter she had excitedly brought home at 18. It was carefully folded. Untouched. I found it after you left. Her father lowered his head. I kept telling myself I'd give it back to you someday. Olivia gently ran her fingers across the paper. The memories came flooding back. The excitement. The hope. The disappointment. I should have been proud of you. He wiped away a tear. You earned every dream you had. I was just too blind to see it. Olivia looked at both of her parents. For the first time, she didn't see the people who had thrown her out. She saw 2 broken human beings carrying the consequences of years of terrible choices. Her mother quietly whispered, "We're not asking you to erase the past. We're only asking for one chance. To become better parents than we were." Olivia remained silent. Then she reached into her handbag and placed a single house key on the table. Both of her parents stared at it in disbelief. I have one condition. Her father immediately nodded. Anything. Olivia looked directly into his eyes. You won't move into my house as people I'm rescuing. She paused. You'll move in as people who are willing to rebuild their lives. If you expect me to solve everything, the answer is no. But if you're ready to work, then we'll start over. Her parents burst into tears. Not because they had been saved, but because, after everything they had done, the daughter they had abandoned was still willing to show them a kindness they had never shown her. Olivia's parents moved into the small guest room at the back of her house the following weekend. Not the master bedroom. Not the spare bedroom overlooking the garden. The guest room. It wasn't punishment. It was a reminder. Everyone living under that roof would contribute equally. On the very first morning, Olivia placed a handwritten note on the kitchen table. It contained 3 simple rules. Everyone works. Everyone tells the truth. Everyone earns trust. Her father read the note twice before quietly nodding. We understand. For the first few weeks, life felt awkward. Meals were quiet. Conversations were short. Years of pain couldn't disappear overnight. But something had changed. This time, no one pretended the past had never happened. One afternoon, Olivia returned home from work to find her father repairing the broken fence around the backyard. Sweat covered his face. His hands were blistered. She walked over. You didn't have to do that. He smiled softly. I know. I wanted to. I spent years believing providing money made me a good father. He looked around the yard. I'm finally learning that showing up matters more. Olivia didn't know what to say. She simply handed him a bottle of water. It was a small moment, but it felt bigger than any apology. Meanwhile, her mother found work at a neighborhood daycare. Every evening she came home smiling, carrying drawings made by the children. One night she quietly admitted, I spent so many years trying to fix one child. I forgot the other one needed me too. Olivia reached across the table and gently squeezed her mother's hand. Neither of them cried. Neither of them needed to. Some wounds heal quietly. A month later, an unexpected knock echoed through the house. Olivia opened the front door. Standing there was Jason. He looked nothing like the confident older brother she remembered. His expensive clothes were gone. His shoulders were slumped. Dark circles surrounded his eyes. For several seconds, no one spoke. Finally, he whispered, I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. Their father slowly walked toward the doorway. For years, he would have immediately defended Jason. This time, he didn't. Instead, he looked his son directly in the eyes. You've apologized before. But apologies without change are just empty words. Jason lowered his head. I know. I've started paying back everyone I owe. I've been working construction. I rented a tiny apartment. I'm trying to rebuild. Their father nodded. Good. But rebuilding takes time. Jason looked toward Olivia. I don't deserve another chance. She answered honestly. No. You don't. His face fell. Then she continued. But neither did Mom and Dad. And they chose to become better. She stepped aside from the doorway. You can come in. But understand something. This house isn't built on excuses. It's built on accountability. Jason slowly nodded. I understand. As he stepped inside, Olivia realized something she had never expected. Real justice wasn't watching her family suffer. It was watching them finally become the people they should have been all along. And for the very first time, their family wasn't pretending to be whole. They were earning it. Olivia never forgot the night she slept in her car. Even years later, whenever it rained, she found herself standing by the living room window, listening to the sound of raindrops against the glass. It reminded her of the frightened 18-year-old girl who had believed her life was over. If someone had told that girl she would one day own a beautiful home, build a successful career, and become the person her family would depend on, she never would have believed it. 6 months after her parents moved in, life looked completely different. Her father had found steady work as a maintenance supervisor for a local apartment complex. It wasn't glamorous, but every paycheck represented something he had never truly understood before: self-respect. Her mother loved working at the daycare. Every afternoon she came home with another funny story about the children she cared for. Sometimes Olivia caught her smiling while looking through old family photo albums. But now, she no longer cried over the past. She focused on making new memories. Jason continued rebuilding his own life. He kept his construction job, slowly paid back his debts, and attended counseling to understand why he had spent so many years believing the world owed him everything. For the first time in his life, he accepted responsibility without blaming anyone else. One Sunday afternoon, the entire family gathered in Olivia's backyard for a barbecue. Nothing expensive. Just hamburgers, lemonade, folding chairs, and laughter. As the sun began to set, Olivia's father stood up holding 2 old house keys. One key belonged to the house they had lost. The other belonged to the home Olivia had built. He held up the old key first. "I spent years believing this key represented everything a father should provide." Then he placed it gently on the table. He lifted the second key. "But this." He looked toward Olivia with tears in his eyes. "This represents something far more valuable. A daughter who refused to let bitterness decide who she became." He walked over and placed the key into Olivia's hand. "This isn't your house because you bought it. It's your home because you filled it with something I failed to give you. Grace." The backyard became completely silent. Olivia smiled through tears. She wrapped her arms around her father. This hug felt different from every other one. It wasn't built on guilt. It wasn't built on obligation. It was built on understanding. Later that evening, after everyone had gone inside, Olivia sat alone on the back porch. She looked up at the stars and thought about the journey that had brought her there. Being thrown out had once felt like the worst day of her life. Now she understood. It had also been the day she discovered her own strength. She realized something many people never do. Your family can shape your childhood, but they do not have to shape your future. The people who rejected you don't get to decide your value. The people who underestimated you don't get to write your ending. Only you do. As Olivia locked the front door that night, she smiled at the small wooden sign hanging beside it. Home is where love is earned through kindness, not demanded through blood. She switched off the lights and walked upstairs, knowing that the greatest victory had never been buying a beautiful house. It had been building a life so full of dignity, compassion, and strength that even the people who once pushed her away finally learned what a real family looked like. The greatest revenge isn't making people regret losing you. It's becoming someone who no longer needs their approval to know your worth. Please like, subscribe now, for next video is coming now.